Hello and welcome to Outpost Admin Stories. Now, this one is taking a bit. There's been a lot of reflection, a lot of reaching out to certain people and clarifying certain details on certain things, but it's finally the time how I told you guys how I became an ableist. Now, I know everybody knows the big shift in culture that we had in 2014 to 2016, where it just seemed like everything got a lot less acceptable. Some jokes were getting their comeuppance in terms of, hey, you don't need to be saying that anymore. And some people were taking it to a radical extreme. Now, if you told my younger self what type of memes and jokes I'm into now, he would laugh. However, it would be very ironic with how the situation started to the point of how it ended. So, without further ado, this is I'm an ableist. Now, you're probably asking yourself, what is an ableist? Well, to be honest, I'm not really good with the definition itself. In fact, an ableist is, or ableism, is the discrimination and social prejudice against people with disabilities based on belief that typical abilities are superior. So the ironic part is I was called this. And I was called this for a reason that really doesn't fit the definition of what ableism is. But nonetheless, it kind of became a thing. It strung out over a week of arguments and disagreements and stuff of that nature. So if you look back in the deep refuse of my YouTube channel, you'll find the best and worst and the War Day Chronicles, where we'd go on jailbreak and just out yell into the microphone as people killed each other. One of the funny things about that whole situation is I usually said some very provocative stuff. Usually it was about buttholes or some stupid insult I would throw at them. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like I have never said a less tasteful word before, is the best way to say it. But we had rules on the Outpost servers, so we couldn't use language like that. You know, if I called you a butt bandit, there was no hostile intent and no malicious, undertones to it. But some people took it that way. And I knew the limits on what we could push and what we could say on the Outpost servers. I was like one of the main admins. But lo and behold, I get a message one day from a person named Honey. And they basically said, hey, could you not say X, X, and X? It makes me uncomfortable. And I'm not going to lie, I was a younger boy, so I was like, no, it's within the rules. Piss off. You're not able to tell me what I can and can't say. As long as I'm not breaking the rules, I don't care. And to be honest, this set our whole situation between each other off on a bad path right away. Because, go figure, the way I responded to that very crass and quick, it was in the middle of a war day. I remember why I responded like that. But there was a lot more tack I could have taken to handle with this individual. But whatever, semantics, who cares? Move on. So a couple days go by or so, and a couple days go by, and Milky, is a regular person. They're just on the servers. It's a regular. You see him regularly, and he had a friend named Milky. Now, Milky and Honey were two people who were just really close. They hung out with each other along with this other person named Robin. And they kind of, grouped together. You had your own little cliques of people you would talk to, you would hang out in the mobile channels with and stuff of that nature. But on TF2, there's a thing called the spray, which allows you to post a little image that you can upload to TF2 of whatever you want. Now, on the Outpost servers, we had a thing called spray banning, which if you put something offensive, nudity, racist, memorabilia, stuff of that nature, we had the right, as a privately paid server, to remove your spray and ban you from being able to spray. Now, ironically, as a person who loves men, really buff dudes, guys just being bros, we did have a rule on the Outpost servers because it was, our demographic was younger, between the ages of 12 to 27 was kind of our big demographic of players. I remember it fondly because it was on the Minecraft map right beside Sweeper. I see a picture of just the engineer and the sniper, buff as fuck, shirtless. Um, One of them undoing the other's pants, and they were making out, and it was, you know, it didn't show nudity, but it was too provocative to allow to be on the server, in personal opinion. So, ironically, the person I am now would just be like, that's just two dudes being bros. But, you know, I was power hungry admin, just like with everybody on that server. And I spray banned Honey and just said, hey, that's not allowed. And the response, you know, with our previous interaction that me and Honey had, you know, it kind of painted a picture of me that I was, the best way to say is a homophobe. Because I banned, go figure, Honey and Milky were gay. And you post shirtless dudes kissing, that's your fucking thing. I don't know why you'd have that as a spray in TF2. It's not even funny. But whatever. You know, shock humor. Could be shock humor. Whatever. Point was, they Honey was not happy with my choice right there, and said, "It seems like you have something against gay people." Now I explained, no, I don't at all. Our owner is gay as well. Like, we have no problem. Just it's provocative. And the word salad of going back and forth of what's allowed and what's not didn't quell. It didn't fix anything and it didn't solve anything. Over the next course of days, admins came in and out of having differing opinions on what was and wasn't allowed as the sprays. Now, personally, we all did agree that it was too provocative in the sense of what it was. But, you know, the owner kind of had his call to it and said, yeah, we don't want kids seeing that because, you know, it's basically just softcore porn. With the owner's foot being put down, we went with the decision, we defended it. Now, if you don't have tact when you defend something, it makes your argument watered down. Unfortunately, with the way the jokes I make, the way I talk, and, you know, everything I was cool with it laughing at, including myself, made me, like I said, have a picture painted that I was a offensive troll just to be offensive, which was not the case, ironically. But I had to defend our rules against someone that was insulting me and calling me a homophobe. Now you would think, well, just ban him, move on, mute him, and go on about your day. Unfortunately, I felt like there would be nothing solved. In fact, the person's opinion wouldn't change. They wouldn't see the, you know, rules as they were, and we would just have to agree to disagree. That didn't happen, unfortunately. Caboose was one of the other admins that kind of got involved, and he explained the situation along with Epis, and it nothing seemed like it was getting through because you had one side that said, you know, you guys make jokes like this, and this, and this, and we can't even post pictures like this. And to be honest, nobody was in the right. There was a paradigm shift in comedy at that time. We were losing more access to certain words that people deemed offensive, even if they weren't offensive. And it was in that weird cultural shift where everything became less acceptable. Go figure. I think it was actually about the time where Tyler the Creator said, "How is internet bullying real? Just shut your eyes. Like, just turn your fucking monitor off." And unfortunately, they drug out another 3 days of disagreements, arguments, passive aggressive comments. You know, nothing being solved. And then there was a couple admins who still felt like we were in the wrong, and we had to argue our side inside ourselves. You know, the infighting was kind of reaching a boiling point. And I remember how this all ended, and it wasn't just like with the Galakra situation. It ended on a bad, sour note. There was no peaceful resolution. We didn't, you know, shake hands or anything of that nature. We didn't amicably like separate. Caboose was on trade along with Epis, and I heard them I was in the mobile channel with them, and they were talking about Milky and Honey are on trade and play, just stirring up a bunch of shit, you know, saying like making sly comments about the admins and stuff like that. I said, part of me was like, what, do I get involved or not? Because I'm the original banning admin, but I'm not the one handling this anymore. I'm allowing them to handle it. It's on Caboose. It's on Trade and Play. I don't know. So I jump on, and Milky and Honey have brought a friend that doesn't play our servers. And the first thing I see is, oh look, here comes the ableist, because it shows you in chat X person has joined the game. The funny thing is, I'm not hip. I'm not hip on certain terminology, so I didn't know what the fucking ableist is. I just assumed it meant like we're just another word for homophobes. Go figure that ableism is totally different than what I don't know. Maybe you could use it in that term. I don't see being gay as a disability. I didn't see it back then. I mean, fuck, I love dudes. You know what I mean? Check out my Reddit. But the weird thing is, I just asked, what did I do? I'm just joined because they said there was a conversation going on that partially involved me. And there was just a bunch of back and forth. Nothing was solved. Again, fucking night number 5 of us just going back and forth with these people. And you didn't want to take action against them because banning them solved nothing. It just would piss them off and be like, we're right. All they did was just use their power and just silence us. And that's not what any of us wanted to do. And then Tony stepped in because Tony had kind of been watching. Tony is the other owner beside RD. Tony stepped in and said, I said outright, Tony, I was like, I don't know what the fuck to do here. Because banning them is what they want. They're goading us to ban them. We don't, but if we ban them, we're going to prove their point. So Tony said, I have a special command for this. It's called silence. So silencing takes away your option to talk on mic and type in chat, but you can still play on the servers. You can't communicate at all, and they're always spray banned. He said, you guys didn't seem like you had anything nice to say to my admins, but you seem like you still want to play on our servers and you like our community. So enjoy yourself. If we ever go down the road where we can actually talk about this like adults, cool. But until then, you guys can stay silenced. So he silences all 3 of them and they leave the server immediately. And I pop off. It's trade and play. Why would I sit there? So I get off and we're all discussing in the Mumble server. And I just distinctly remember saying, I was like, nothing was solved here. I was like, I got called an ableist. We got called homophobes. You know, we didn't peacefully resolve this. There was no way to resolve this. It didn't seem like they wanted to resolve this. But maybe that's just a lack in our adminning. And Caboose said, no, it didn't seem like we could do anything to appease them. So it's best not to let it wear on you. And Epis kind of jumped in, yeah, but we got to be more tactful when we handle situations like that because that was just a shit fest. And Tony chimed in, he's like, yeah, it was kind of a shit fest on everybody's part. But, I mean, you guys did what you can do. They can play the servers if they want, but they can't communicate. So, just put it out your mind, out of sight, out of mind. And, the funny thing is, going back to the definition of ableism, I didn't understand why I got called an ableist. I could totally understand why they called me a homophobe. Because what we were enforcing seemed like what's the best way to put this? It seemed like something that was very prominent at the time. It seemed like it was fun to make fun of gay people and down them in any way. When in the end, we were just kind of didn't want people to put any type of provocative porn on our servers and sprays. But there's an argument there because there was certain people that had just anime girls bent over with their butts not showing, but like in spandex, and it's like, well, where do you draw the line? You know what I mean? And some admins would say, no, that's totally fine, but then immediately see the buff shirtless dudes kissing, undoing each other's pants and go, that's a no. So in the end, I'm not an ableist, but I definitely was misinformed and did not know how to handle a situation where I was truly being painted as the man who is a homophobe or well, because again, I'm not an ableist, but as being painted more as a homophobe than an ableist. But Milky, honey, if for some reason the barrels of the internet put this video at your fingertips, I am sorry how that went. Because to be honest, nothing positive that was not a positive experience. There was nothing learned from it. There was no standard set. There was no standard set. There was nothing good that came of it. It just another one of those situations that just rocked our admins and it kind of made them go on edge because at one point, more and more edgy because that's how the salt mines happen. The further and further you show admins that you have less control over the servers, the more and more bad decisions we're going to make. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed that story, drop me a like, subscribe if you haven't. I will keep pumping these out. You know, I kept hyping up this story as that I became the ableist. But digging through all these old memories, I've actually maybe found some old content that was even better stories. And to be honest, the next one is going to be a very wild fucking ride. And I will tell you guys about Operation Red Hearts next time. See you guys.